Today we're going to talk about decimals. When they ask you to write the equivalent fraction for each decimal, remember you have to think what place value is the last digit in. So my last digit is in the hundreds place, so my equivalent fraction would be 25 over 100. Now also remember you can reduce down. How can I reduce 25 over 100? I can divide both of those by 4, making it 1/4. Write an equivalent fraction for each decimal. Look at this decimal. This decimal is just the number 1 whole. How can you write a fraction that is 1 whole? You have many different choices. 3 over 3 equals 1 whole. 21 over 21 equals 1 whole. 1 over 1 equals 1 whole. Any time that the numerator and denominator are the same, it equals 1 whole. 0.5. Many of you already might know that off the top of your head, but it's 5 over 10 because 0.5, it's in the tenths place. If you divide both of those by 5, you will get 1/2. 0.75. Many of you already might know this too, thinking about quarters. What fraction is it? 75 over 100, because we end in the hundredth spot. If you divide both of these out, I divide both of them by 25, I will get 3/4. Now I need to write a decimal for the fraction 45 over 100. I need my decimal place, the number 45, but I need to make sure it ends in the hundredth spot because it's over 100, and it does. Write the decimals in order from smallest to largest. What I need to look at is first I need to make sure they all have the same number ending in the same decimal place. Excuse me, which they do. They're all in the hundreds place. So now I simply need to put them in order. 0.31 or 31, is my smallest. 0.39 is the next. 0.56 is my next. 0.75 is the greatest. Let's take a look at this one. Remember I said that you need to have all of these ending in the same place value. This one does not. How do I make it end in the hundredth spot? If I add a 0. Now it's 30. So 0.30 is my smallest. 0.35 is my next. 0.59 and my greatest is 0.67. Remember also on the MCAs you need to look at the directions. Some of it might say greatest to least. Tam found $2.17 in her purse and $2.77 in her pocket. How much money did Tam find? What do we need to do with that? What operation? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? If you said add, you are correct. How do you add together decimals again? If you said you need to line up the decimals, you are right. So I need to line up the decimals, and then I simply add as normal. 7 plus 7 is 14. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 7 is 9. I need to bring down the decimal. 2 plus 2 is 4. So how much money did Tam find? She found $4.94. Here's a multiple choice. I have two numbers that are decimals that I need to add. If you remember, you need to line up the decimals when you add them. Two plus 9 is 11. Don't forget to bring down the decimal. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. So my answer would be A. If I'm subtracting decimals, the same thing. You need to line up the decimals. 7.5 minus 3.9. And I subtract the same exact way you subtract two whole numbers. 5 minus 9, I can't do it. You need to borrow. 15 minus 9 is 6. Bring down the decimal. 6 minus 3 is 3, making D my correct answer. Alexia received a $50 Target gift card for her birthday. She bought a video game that cost $33.98, including tax. How much more money can she spend with her gift? So how much more money? I need to subtract. I'm going to subtract $50. But wait, there's no decimal in there. How am I going to subtract and line up my decimals? If you remember, there's always a decimal here. And now I can add in 2 zeros because she has 0 cents. Minus $33.98. Now I can easily subtract. So don't forget, if there's no numbers up here, remember they're just zeros, so just add them in. I need to do a bunch of borrowing. I borrow here, this becomes a 4. It becomes a 10, but I'm going to borrow again from it, so I'm going to just make it a 9. I'm going to borrow again from this, so I'm going to make it a 9. And this last one becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 9 is 0. Bring down my decimal. 9 minus 3 is 6. 4 minus 3 is 1. So how much more money does she have left to spend with her gift card? $16.02. Now let's look at multiplying. If you multiply decimals, you do not line up the decimals. If you remember, I'm going to put 112 up here times 29. I'm going to forget about the decimals at first. You could put in the decimals and just simply forget about them and remember that it's 112 times 29. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply those out and then I'm going to add in the decimals at the end. So 112 times 29 is 3,248. Now if you remember, I need to count how many decimals are behind my number in 1 and 1200ths. How many decimals are behind in 2 and 9/10. It looks like 1, 2, 3. So I need 1, 2, 3 digits behind decimals, making it 3 and 248 thousandths. How would I divide a decimal? I do the same thing. I forget that the decimal is there for a moment. And if you remember, my decimal is here. I forget it's there because it simply just jumps up. Now it's 453 divided by 3. If I would divide it out, the answer would be 151. But my decimal jumped up here, so the answer is 1 and 51/100. On a fishing trip, Rahidran caught 2 fish. The The first fish weighed 4 4/10 pounds, and the second fish weighed 6 3/10 pounds. What is the weight difference of the two fish? Difference means to what? Subtract. 6.3 would go on the top because our largest number always is on the top, minus 4.4. Remember, with subtraction, you simply line up the decimals and subtract that out. Division, what do you do again? If you said forget about the decimals, because all the decimals simply do is jump up to the top, you are correct. And then you would find your answer. Use a chart below to answer the question. Mrs. Cullen weighed her 4 puppies. What is a combination weights of the puppies? Show your work in the box on the side. All the puppies' combined weight, you would simply add them up. When you add them up, if you said, remember to line up the decimals, you are correct. I am then going to line up all the digits. One digit should be on top of the other. If you notice something with my digits, there are some missing places. Remember what goes into those missing places? If you said zeros, you are correct. And then you could simply add up all the numbers to find the combined weights. I also want a quick touch on percents. Choose a best choice that shows a correct percentage for the decimal, then convert each percentage to a fraction in the box given. Decimals and fractions and percents are all alike. Remember, in order to get the percentage, I need to move the decimal, and it's always 2 spots over. So decimal moves over 1, 2, making this 4%. Decimal moves 2 spots over 1, 2, making this 16%. And then it also says convert each percentage to a fraction in the given box. Have 4%. Remember, it was 0.04. It was 4 hundredths. And then simply reduce that down, and I can divide them both by 2, making that 2 50ths. This one was 16%. My decimal, remember, was 0.16, making that 16 over 100. And I could divide both of those by 4. 16 divided by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 100 divided by 4, think of quarters, is 25. So percents, decimals, and fractions are all related. I hope you remember about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, finding equivalent fractions and decimals and percents. I know you'll do great on your test.